warm and pleasant good morning to all my dear students. Today we will start chapter number 6 from literature Animals in Prison. This chapter is a small extract from the autobiography of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, where he narrated his experience with animals while he spent few of his years in jail for the freedom of India from the British rule. So let's start. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, during his struggle for the freedom of India from the British rule, he had to live in prisons on and off at different places in India. In his autobiography, he mentioned his experience with animals during his stay in various jails. So, here is an expert for you to read. Excerpt. Excerpt means a small piece of extract for you to read and to know about the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and how he spent his days in jail at various places where he experienced and observed the activities of different kind of animals. Autumn again was pleasant and so was the winter, except when it rained. With thunder and rain and piercing cold winds, one longed for a decent habitation and little warmth and comfort. Occasionally, there would be a hailstorm with hailstones bigger than the marbles coming down on the corrugated iron roofs and making a tremendous noise, something like an artillery bombardment. Now, what happened? Autumn was very pleasant as winter too, except when it rained. Now, during that rainy season, and thunder means winter season, and where the cold wind was blowing around, one longed for a decent habitation. One expected for a decent habitation and warmth and comfort. Occasionally, there would be hailstorm. You know what do you mean by hail? Hail, yes, Ola. So when it rains, sometime hails, they used to come down on the iron roof, or and they make a noise, tremendous noise, something like an artillery bombardment, as if there is a fight between the two countries with the bomb and all, as if missiles were bombarding over each other. So that is how the hailstones they produce a tremendous noise as if missiles were bombarding between two countries, as if war is going between the two countries. I remember one day particularly. This is what Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru started his autobiography by mentioning that I remember one day particularly. It was the 24th December of it was of 24th of December 1932. There was a thunderstorm and rain all day, and it was bitterly cold. Although almost this season we are experiencing, winter season was there, and it was one of the most miserable days from the bodily point of view that I have spent in Gyal. Gyal means jail. Okay, so Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru started with one particular day. He remembered that one particular day, that was 24th December 1932, when there was a thunderstorm and rain all day, almost this winter season, and it was bitterly cold. It was one of the miserable days it was one of the sad days as he had to spend many years in jail. As he had to spend his years in jail. In the evening, it cleared up suddenly, and all my misery departed when I saw all the neighboring mountains and hills covered with a thick mantle of snow. The next day, Christmas Day, was lovely and clear, and there was a beautiful view of snow covered the mountains. So, the poet, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is the poet here, who is the writer of this autobiography where he's narrated his experience in jail. His experience in jail. So, what he said that in the evening he saw the neighboring mountains and hills, they are covered with snow, and next day it was Christmas. The weather was very lovely and clear, and there was a beautiful view as snow has covered the mountain. Prevented from indulging in normal activities, we become more observant of nature ways. We watched also the various animals and insects that come our way. As I grew more observant, I noticed all the manner of insects lying in my cell or in the little yard outside. So the Nehruji said that he experienced or he came across various animals and insects, and as he grew more, he became more observant, and he noticed the activities of insects and insects in the cell, or you can say in the jail or in the outside garden. I realized that when I complained of loneliness, that yard, which seemed empty and deserted, was teeming with life. So the Nehruji said, when I complained about my loneliness in the jail, the yard, which is outside his cell, that is a small lawn, you can say, which seemed empty and deserted, it was full of life. Why Nehruji said that the yard was full of life? Because it is having the creatures, animals, insects that are actually enjoying their life, and that is called nature observant. All these creatures were creeping or crawling or flying insects lived their life without interfering with me in any way. What did he observe? That the creatures, small insects, small animals, they were just enjoying, they were just crawling, they were moving from one place to another without interfering in his part in any way, and I saw no reason why I should interfere with them. But there was continuous war between me and bedbugs. Bedbugs, there is a small bug, is a small insect that is used to present at Jawaharlal Nehru's bed. And the Nehruji said, when I saw those creatures crawling and creeping in the yard, I also thought that why should I interfere with in their movement? But there was a continuous war between Nehruji and the bedbugs, mosquitoes, and to some extent flies. Because, as you know, flies in mosquitoes and bedbugs, they irritates you when you sleep in the bed. So same happened with Nehruji too. Wasp and hornet I tolerate. There were hundreds of them in my cell. There had been a little tiff between us when inadvertently, I think. Inadvertently. What do you mean by inadvertently? Any idea, students? Done without any purpose. When without any reason, I think a wasp had stung me. In my anger, I tried to exterminate the lot, but they put up a brave fight in defense of their temporary home, which probably contained their eggs, and I desisted and decided to leave them in peace if they did not interfere with me anymore. So Nehruji said there is a very little rift between us. Between us means between Nehruji and small insects. When, without any reason, Nehruji thought a wasp had stung me. And in his anger, he tried to kill them. Exterminate means to kill the small insects, flies, or mosquitoes. So in his anger, he tried to kill them a lot, but they here stands for those small creatures who put up a brave fight in their defense and protect themselves from their Nehruji, and which probably contained their eggs. And he decided that he will not kill those small insects. He will allow them to live in peace until and unless they are not going to disturb Pandit Nehruji. Bats. Now, Nehruji said, bats I don't like, but I had to tolerate them. I had to endure them. They flew soundlessly in the evening dusk, and one could just see them against the darkening sky. Awry things. Awry things means strange things, weird things. I had a horror of them. Whenever I saw some weird thing, I used to get scared, and they seemed to pass within an inch of one's face. And I was always afraid that they might hit me. So, regarding bats, in this paragraph, Nehruji said, bats I don't like, but still I had to tolerate them as they flew soundlessly in the evening, and one could just see them in the darkening sky. And strange thing was that he was scared of them because he was afraid maybe they will hit him. Then there were squirrels also, crowds of them if trees were about. Now, if trees are there in the garden, you obviously squirrels will be there. They would become very venturesome and come right near us. In Lucknow jail, Gaol means jail. So in Lucknow jail, I used to sit reading lost without moving for considerable periods, and squirrel would climb up my leg and sit on my knee and have a look around. So when Nehruji was in Lucknow jail, he used to spend his days by in reading, and he got losted whenever he starts reading, that he was not aware that the squirrel climb his leg, sit on his knee, and have a look around. And then it would look into his eyes and realize that I was not a tree or whatever it had taken me for. Now, the Heruji said the squirrel sat on his knee as if it was imagining that the squirrel was sitting on a tree. But the moment squirrel realized that it was not a tree, fear would disable it for a moment and it would scamper away. Little baby squirrels would sometimes fall down from the trees. Mother would come after them, roll them up into a little ball, and carry them off to safety. Occasionally, the baby got lost. One of my companions picked up three of these lost baby squirrels and looked after them. They were so tiny that it was a problem how to feed them. The problem was solved rather ingeniously. A fountain pen fitter with a little cotton wool attached to it made an efficient feeding bottle. So I hope you got this from the baby squirrel. This is all about baby squirrels. Nehruji said that sometimes the little baby squirrels they fall down from the trees. Their mothers came after them and they rolled them and carry them off to safety. Occasionally, what happened? The baby got lost. One of my friends picked up three of his lost baby and looked after them. they were so small that there was a problem that how to feed those baby squirrels. Then a fountain pen fitter with a little cotton wool attached to it. Cotton wool has been attached to a fountain pen, and that was used as an efficient feeding bottle. After that, pigeons were also there in the jails. I went to expect in the mountain prisons of Almora. So where did he found the pigeons? In the jail of Almora, in the prison of Almora. There were thousands of pigeons, and in the evening the sky would be thick with them. Sometimes the jail officials shoot them down and feed on them. So what, there were thousands of pigeons in the prison of Almora, and sometimes the jailers they used to shoot them and they had their feet. Now there were menas, of course, they are to be found everywhere. A pair of them nested over my cell door in Dehradun. So in Dehradun there were menas too, and a pair of them, pair of menas, they made a nest over the cell of Nehruji, and I used to feed them. They grew quite tame, and if there was any delay in their food, it was amusing to watch their signs and listens to their impatient cries. Now Nehruji said manas they became tamed. Tamed, what do you mean by tamed? When you adopt any animal. Now here Nehruji has had been giving feed daily the feed to manas, and so they became tamed. Now what happened? Nehruji said it is whenever he there was any delay in their feeding time, it was fun to watch their signs, the signs given by manas, and listen to their impatient cries for their food. Okay, Dehradun had a variety of birds, and there was a regular jumble of singing and lively chattering and twittering. And high above it all came the quail's plaintive call. During the monsoon, and just before it, the brain fever bird visited us, and I realized soon why it was so named. It was amazing to see the persistence with which it went on repeating the same sound. We could not see most of these birds, we could only hear them as a rule, as there were no trees in our little yard. So, Dehradun, when he was in Dehradun, Nehruji said in Dehradun there were variety of birds, and there was a jumble of singing and lively chattering and twittering all over, and high above all it there was a quail. Now during the monsoon and just before it, the brain fever bird visited us, and I realized soon why it was so named. It was amazing to see the persistence with which they keep on repeating their same sound. It was amazing. It was very surprised to see that how they are able to produce the same sound with. Now we couldn't see the birds, but we can hear them as a rule because there were no trees in their yard. So today we'll stop here only. Rest of the chapter will continue in the next class. I hope you understand whatever we have studied today. So do the back exercise and word meaning. Back exercise in the book itself and word meanings in your fair notebook. That's all for today. Have a nice day.